guys, please don't forget to drop a like and to subscribe to the channel. My ex-girlfriend used to drag me on hikes all up and down the East Coast. She was a fitness freak, nature lover, and viewed herself as a natural explorer. The total opposite of me and my laid-back homebody nature. One day she dragged me on a hike on a trail she had heard about in New York. It was very isolated with a dirt path and no signs of civilization. It was pure wilderness and the first few hours were uneventful. A few hours in we came upon an old-fashioned iron stove in a thicket of trees with no clear path to put it. There was no sign of foundation where it could have been attached to a house, and the trees were tall and thick as if they had been there for decades. We approached it and talked about how weird it was and examined it closely. I opened it up and found nothing but ash and dust, but the second I opened it there was a brief strong wind and the woods went quiet. We couldn't make sense of it or how it got there, so we moved on, but now I had an uneasy feeling. Further into the walk we found foundations, decrepit chimneys, and random stone stairs that seeming never connected to anything. Eventually we came upon an isolated, open and empty, modern-looking house. We opted to take a closer look and even went inside. Inside the house there was no signs of anyone ever having lived there. It was as if someone built it, painted it, we could smell the paint as if it were fresh, and abandoned it with all the doors wide open. Not being the outdoorsy type, one decided to use the restroom, but to my shock there was no bathroom and the only sign of plumbing in the whole house was the kitchen sink. Not important, but the sink had clear but foul-smelling water and a weak stream. As we exited the house I got the feeling we were being watched. We carried on and found a town with isolated paved roads that connected to no actual roads and power lines that didn't seem to connect to anything or go anywhere. She dragged me into what had likely been a store at one point, but now was just a dumping ground of hats of all different styles and conditions, sports caps, straw hats, bonnets, berets, fedoras, top hats. New and old, clean and new, as well as withered by time and elements. Yet again there was no bathroom. As we looked around we heard what sounded like kids playfully yelling back and forth, and we went out to see what they were up to, but there was no signs of anyone there. As we walked around more we started noticing movements in some of the buildings and decided it was getting too creepy for us and that it was time to go. On the way back to our vehicle we started hearing car engines, but there was no roads near the dirt trail and no signs of cars anywhere. When we got far enough away and couldn't hear the engines anymore we started to think that we heard footsteps following us. At one point we stopped to listen for them and we could clearly hear footsteps and bushes rustling. We called out to them and got no response, so we hurried to the car and raced back to civilization. When we got to a gas station and asked about the town, a local told us about a nearby abandoned ghost town called Pixabay. He made it out to be nothing, but I am not so sure. Something about everything we saw and heard there was uncanny and lacked sense. And I'm pretty sure it's not actually abandoned. There was definitely someone there when we were.